Good afternoon. My name is Julie Hummer. I'm the president of the Board of Education. This is Terry Gilliland, the vice president of the Board of Education. Thank you all for coming. We are very fortunate in our county that we have a wonderful partnership between the school system, the county government, and the police department. You see that partnership in effect every day in our high schools with our school resource officers who are ever-present partners with us. But you don't see all the things that go on behind the scenes. Just today, or just through the night, we had worked closely with the police department as they investigated a threat of a shooting at Broadneck High School. So we can't underestimate the value of that working partnership that we have with them. Today we're going to bring forth more evidence of that collaboration that we have. I want to thank County Executive Shue, Chief Altamari, and Dr. Arlotto. And what you hear today is designed to continue to enhance the security and safety of our 82,000 students and our 10,000 employees. And our board is very proud to be a part of this, and we are very grateful for the unique partnership that we have within the county. Now our Superintendent Arlotto will come up.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Certainly I want to thank our board president, Julie Hummer, and our board vice president, Terry Gillen, for being here this afternoon and for your continued support. I do want to thank the county executive and Chief Altamari also for being here and for your continued partnership and work together. Thank you. I know that Mr. Shue's got some funding announcements to make, but I wanted to highlight a couple things that we've been talking about in our school system. The last couple of weeks have been a tough time for us in the school system. I know that our partners in Blue have been amazing. They've worked throughout the night, many nights, working with us as threats have come in through social media and others. And so it's been a bit of a nerve-wracking time in the school systems, not only in Anne Arundel County, but across the state and across the country. So I thank my staff across all of our schools for working so hard, and particularly working with our police department. But we've talked a lot both internally, and we've talked also with a number of our external partners like our fabulous police department. And so some of the changes that we've been talking about is, as you may be very well aware, sometimes during the school year we've got large number of guests that come into a school, like for instance, a grandparents' day. We could have 300 or 400 grandparents at an elementary school all come into the building at one time, and that really makes it difficult for us to check people in appropriately and sign them in. So we're going to be talking about how some of those processes and procedures will move forward when we know we're going to have a large number of guests. We're going to ask our guests to be patient and allow extra time for that to happen. And also we may be doing sort of a pre-check, if you will, and doing some advanced sign-ups in those instances. We are going to be reinstituting our school security council. It's something we had done in the past. We're going to reinstitute that school security council. That involves not only local law enforcement here in the city, Anne Arundel County Police Department, Fort Meade Police Department, along with principals and assistant principals, some parents and students, and we're going to reconstitute that group to really work with us in examining issues and making recommendations for changes and improvements to school security and safety. And lastly, one of the things that we've talked about, certainly with Chief Altamari and his team, are making our schools available to the officers as they're in the area. So as our officers are in the area and during their downtime, if they need a place to step in and work on a report or get off their feet for a minute, we're going to welcome into the buildings. We'll find desk space for you, make printers available and the Wi-Fi available for you. We know it'll be another friendly face that you can move about the building and interact with the students, and know that, and it's just an added level for our parents and our students and our staff to know that we've got an additional level of security in the building. So as you're out and about throughout the days, we will welcome you into our buildings. So please take advantage of that. And with that, I'll ask Chief Altamari to come to the podium.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out. As Dr. Arlotto said, we've had a tough couple weeks in Anne Arundel County, and I thank the Lord that it has not been as tough a couple weeks as it was in Florida, or has been in Florida since that horrific incident. But since that incident, as a catalyst for us, we've been talking nonstop between us at the Board of Education, down to the county executive's office, across our family and law enforcement in the county, about how we double down on how hard we work to keep schools safe in Anne Arundel County and the children in those schools. So I'd like to, if I could, take a moment and recognize our SROs from Annapolis High School. They are Corporal Lee Williams and Corporal Tim Bonnet, who are here today, as they always are, to keep Annapolis High School safe. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Thank you for everything you do all day. As we've discussed the last couple weeks how we're going to become even more effective in keeping school kids safe in Anne Arundel County. We've focused on 4 basic areas that you could kind of stretch into 5 if you're trying. They are the physical security of the buildings. Here on all campuses, there's roughly 122 schools in Anne Arundel County, so we've had discussions on how to strengthen those schools and make them harder targets for a lunatic. We've talked about improving the ability of the officers to tactically respond to that horrible day if it ever comes to Anne Arundel County, which we pray nonstop never happens. We've talked about improving even more our relationships between the beat cops who are out on the street every day, keeping communities safe, and the school staffs throughout Anne Arundel County, because we should be working tightly together. We should know who each other are, and we should have good relationships long before a bad day ever happens. We've put our money where our mouth is the last 2 weeks on the quality of investigation of any time a school threat comes up. We don't have the luxury of treating a school threat as not legitimate, because it's the one we don't treat as legitimate that's going to jump up and bite us. Between our school safety section and the detectives throughout this police department and the beat cops, the last 2 weeks, we have responded to more incidents than you could shake a stick at. We are not over-disclosing on them because we don't want to create copycats, but I can tell you that we have had a lot of sleepless nights in the last 2 weeks, as Dr. Arlotto said. His staff have been right there hip to hip with us as we've worked through the night to keep schools safe. Broadneck, I think you guys will hear in the near future, has been put to bed as a threat, and we've discovered that there was no credible threat on that. And amongst those 4 areas of continued work and continued strengthening of our efforts, that lets me segue into introducing the county executive, who's got some concrete things to talk about in putting our money where our mouths are in Anne Arundel County. So I'll introduce County Executive Stephen Arshu. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today at Annapolis High School. Especially like to thank Superintendent Arlotto and President Hummer for being our hosts today. And I'd like to acknowledge once again our Police Chief, Tim Altameri, for the great work that he does making Anne Arundel County the safest large jurisdiction in Maryland. And also a special shout out to Director of School Security, Doyle Batten, who's way in the back somewhere there. Where are you, Doyle? There he is. For doing so much work over the last week to pull together the program you're going to hear about today. No student in Anne Arundel County should be afraid to go to school. And no parents should fear for their children while attending an Anne Arundel County public school. The tragic events of the last few weeks have made these concerns more real than ever. Parents want to know that their children are being educated in a safe, secure environment. And as public officials, we have a duty to protect every citizen of this county. Shortly after the unspeakable events in Florida, county and school officials met to discuss what steps could be taken to enhance the safety of our schools. We discussed how best to deploy security personnel and to strengthen security systems throughout our school buildings. We're here today to announce a plan that we believe will effectively protect our students. Our plan calls for a $14.8 million investment over 2 years in both physical school security systems and personnel, including a $3.1 million first-year investment in startup costs for 20 new school resource officers, or SROs, to protect schools and to stand vigilant in the case of any emergency. This investment will effectively double the number of SROs in Anne Arundel County and will assure that every high school and every middle school has a school resource officer. $11.7 million in capital spending, including double-door security systems at 9 high schools. The others already have them. An additional 1,565 security cameras and servers at all county schools. door lock upgrades on 4,000 classroom interior doors throughout the school system, and protective tactical equipment for every school, and finally, upgraded access control systems at 81 schools. These investments will be phased in over 2 years. We do expect that a portion of these costs will be defrayed by state funds, and I encourage our leaders in the General Assembly to work with the governor to ensure that every school in Maryland is safe by enacting his school lockbox and school security funding proposals. While we can never ensure and protect against every eventuality, we believe these investments demonstrate our county's determination and commitment to the safety of our students. With that, I'm sure the president or vice president, superintendent, chief, or I would be glad to take any questions.
Question?
Sure.
The gear, the tactical gear, is that going to be for students or be for the SROs in the school?
It's going to be for the officers responding, the SROs who are already in schools, and it's going to be available, God forbid, for the school staff if needed. It takes time if there's not an officer directly present to get cops to the scene of something like this. As Sandy Hook and Florida have taught us, minutes mean lives. So it's a step for the police to respond, to effectively locate, close with, and neutralize a threat. And it may be a step for school staff, senior school staff, to do something besides jump between an assailant and the kids. And if you'll allow me, I'm going to stop there because I don't want to telegraph what we're doing to the bad guys all over the world.
Did this district contact other districts that have had issues like in Florida and others to find out what they were doing to also enhance? And then how did you come up with all of these ideas?
So the answer to the first question is yes. It's not a new conversation, right? So since Columbine, school districts around the country have been having combined conversations, whether it's at educational conferences. There is already a school security network that is in place here in the state of Maryland, run by Ned Clark and through Maryland State Department of Education, funded by the General Assembly, of which our security director and security directors from all the LEAs that are on, for example, a Monday morning phone call where they're talking about the school districts around the state, or talking about what's happening in their jurisdictions, whether it's incidents that have occurred in schools or what's being posted on social media. So we are part of that. But it's an ongoing conversation both locally and nationally. It's not a new conversation, but clearly it is heightened. And so the conversation about today came about really from a meeting immediately after the terrible tragedy in Florida, where myself and members from my team, along with our police chief and our county executive and members of their team, sat down to talk about for several hours and over several different days about things that we can be doing differently and ways we can enhance security and safety for our students and our staff and our community. And that's where that's where a lot of this was born from.
Chief, you guys had an incident today. Talk a little bit about that, just in terms of school resource officer being there for that and how they help in a situation like that.
Oh, it's immeasurable, I think. The value of school resource officers starts long before that bad day where we're scrambling to try to keep people safe. These gentlemen and every other school resource officer in the county act as coaches and mentors and litmus tests every day for the emotional health of the students, as do the traditional school staff. I think that the beauty of the school resource officer program is that when we have something like that scares us to death, we have a finite amount of people to start looking at who are students in the school versus having a student body here of 2,000 kids that we would have to look at, because between the school staff and the SROs, the communication and the relationship has existed for us to start being able to vet which kids might have had emotional health problems before, who might be engaging in that kind of behavior. So the relationship should be strong much earlier than that day, but I got to tell you, we've been all in on every one of these threats. When you hear about the numbers of cops, we're talking about 8, 10 cops on every threat, working 18, 24 hours to make sure that by the next school day that these kids can come to school and we know that they're safe. So it's been a monumental undertaking, to answer your question. Did I do okay?